everyone, and welcome back to the Cooldown Room. We have just finished watching the Australian Grand Prix, and I've got to say, that was definitely the best race of the season so far. I loved it. What about you, Neil?
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Neil. Yeah,
Hi,
welcome to the
Neil!
podcast. Yeah, I definitely agree. Not that it was a particularly high bar to cross, given how kind of boring the first two races
Yeah.
were. I mean, the first one at least had the Aston Martin surprise element.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it was a kind of dull race other than the last few laps. But
I
yeah,
enjoyed
this
it
race is definitely
throughout.
a lot better. It was
Yeah,
okay.
I
Like
enjoyed it.
I was kind of middling on it, but this one, banger content all in all.
Yeah, we definitely have a lot to talk about. So what is that? Is that tea?
It is tea, yes. I'm
Okay.
drinking tea for my
He's
audio
drinking
listeners, but
tea.
it's I guess to the Western listening audience, a better description would be chai, because even though in my head those two are the same thing, because chai is just the Hindi word for tea, it's Indian style tea. You know what
Well,
I
there
mean?
we
So
go.
yeah.
Love it. And I've got my water as always, my trusty
Let's
water
go.
bottle.
Yeah, I've got my emergency water as well for when my throat dries out.
And I have such a segue here. Speaking of water, let's talk about the wet qualifying.
She's too good. She's too good with it.
I know. Yeah, quali. It feels like it was years ago at this point.
Really?
Yeah, it feels like it's been a long time since quali. Gosh, it was fun. It was a good quali.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining quali. I really enjoyed it, to be honest.
Albon was absolutely.
Yeah, I had him on board. I had him on board the whole qualifying session. He was on it. He was popping off. Like it was great. I'm glad I completely chose him at random. Basically, my selection criteria was I want to get a driver who is has an entertaining story on that day and who might have a helmet cam. So the chances of choosing someone with Bell is way higher because they're the ones who make the helmet cam.
Yeah.
So I figured Alex Albon, a newly converted Bell user. What better time?
What better time indeed. I didn't know he'd newly converted to Bell helmets.
Yeah, all of his helmets until Williams were all.
They were. Yeah, I was gonna say. I didn't realize. That's interesting because I guess I'm more familiar with his Red Bull helmets, which I've stared lovingly at for many years. Anyway.
But yeah, it is an interesting thing to think about because I mean, generally the wisdom is that your head shape is either a bell shape or an RI shape. Like for example, Lucy, you and I went to Grand Prix Racewear to try out helmets of which one would fit me the best. And we have determined that I am definitely a bell head and RI literally hurts to put on.
Bell head?
That kind of thing. I'm a bell head. I'm 100% a bell head. But, oh shit, that sounds bad if you're British. I'm not British, guys. Luckily, I'm not British, so it's okay. I can say that. But yeah, it is interesting that F1 drivers can get away with switching helmet manufacturers because they're so elite in motorsport that each helmet can be custom molded to their head. It doesn't matter what brand it is. So yeah, it's a matter of just which did they use. How they start in F1 is usually just a matter of which did they use in their career growing up, and so they just stick with that kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And back then they couldn't have them customized, could they? They probably would just go.
No, I mean technically I'm sure you could if you had infinite money, but I think at that point it's none of the F1 drivers are neurodivergent enough to care that much about how something feels on their head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For example, this helmet that I've got recently, the Axor Apex, it is kind of more of an RI shape, but it fits my head properly, which is why I got it, as compared to this old Studs Thunder helmet, which didn't fit my head properly. It fits my head properly, but I can definitely feel there are a little small air gaps around the top of my head, which was very similar to what the RI was like. But it was 50 quid compared to RI, which was 500. So there's a bit of a difference there.
We get the wins here. I don't think RI want to sponsor our show.
No, although RI, hit us up, please.
RI, please.
Assuming you can custom mold because no one wants to know with me.
Who would you say besides Alex Albon was the standout from quali? Because I think pretty obviously Albon was
standout from quali. Yeah, Albon I would say is the GOAT of qualifying.
It was like he toggled. You were literally saying
yeah, that's what I was making jokes about the current F1 esports state of affairs where there's a huge amount of cheating scandals going on, and I was like, yeah, Alex is one of them now, unfortunately. Guys, admin, do not let him.
He's hacking.
Don't let admin check your files. Don't let him check the files, guys. This is not gonna end well. I'm gonna quickly get the qualifying results open on my phone though, just so I can see who else did really well.
Yeah.
I mean, Mercedes kind of surprised everyone, including themselves, with their pace as well.
They did. Where did they come in quali? Was that
second and third?
Not bad.
Pretty good. I mean, pretty good.
Yeah.
And I think between Russell and Hamilton, a gap of just about a 10th. So yeah, that's pretty good performance from them.
Yeah, and Verstappen on pole, no surprises really. I guess the big surprise was Checo. I want to say that was an issue.
Checo really threw the game.
Did he have an issue, or was it driver error?
I mean, the thing is, it is driver error, but we have to question why is it driver error. So he may have had an issue which caused him to make that error. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
So it's a matter of like, it's very difficult to say because of how vaguely they've talked about it. They were all been going on about like, oh, I have this issue. Some people are saying the setup is wrong. Some people are saying something's broken on the car. Like, because he's saying sort out the issue. Sometimes he says fix. Whereas in like, according to a lot of accounts I've heard, it's also just like, it's literally the setup concept is wrong. Which I'm not sure I buy that, because if he was having these problems in FP3 as well. So if it was just a pure setup problem, they could just run Max's setup for qualifying and say deal with the consequences of that.
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't understeer off the track. He would oversteer into the wall instead, which is not what happens. So I do believe there must have been something wrong on the car. Do I know what it is? No. I saw a lot of speculation, especially based on the onboard, that it was to do with engine braking. And for those who don't know, engine braking is the tendency for an engine to slow down on its own when you're not giving more throttle. You can try it in your road car next time. If you shift into first and just let off the throttle, it'll automatically slow down on its own, because the engine requires constant energy in order to keep spinning. And if you're not giving energy in the form of fuel, where is that energy going to come from? From the wheels, so it'll slow it down. So yeah, there was a lot of speculation about the fact that the engine braking wasn't working properly, which just like pushed him on when he tried to turn in for turn 3. But I must say it was kind of a bozo move, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a kind of, if you know you have the issue, then what is more productive for your championship? Trying your best to drive around it, or prove the point of how badly it's messed up by binning it on your first lap? Like, I don't know if it makes much sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, especially knowing that Checo was driving the rocket ship Red Bull. It's like he didn't, and it was Q1 as well. It's not like he was trying to get.
I feel like it's not a risk that made sense to take.
So, yeah, kind of bit of a flop from Checo there.
A little bit of flop. It'd be like that at
affectionate.
Times, yeah, affectionate. Flop, but like cutely.
Yeah. So I guess, do you have anything else to talk about quali, or shall we move over to the main event?
I think so. I had some. Oh yeah, Bottas struggling a lot at Albert Park, which is surprising given how good he is at the start. I don't know. I think the Alfa Romeo was just really bad. Like it was just really bad.
Fair enough.
Let's see. And anyone else? Not really. There was that matter of Hamilton getting really badly held up on his prep lap, which I believe affected his sector 1 time on his final flying lap.
Who was that held him up?
I can't remember now. I think it was Hulkenberg. I don't remember exactly.
I don't remember.
But in reality, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Someone tell us, please.
he got his P2 in the end in the race. It's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's
the race.
All for me.
Good segue.
Oh my god, Formula 1 race. Oh my god, yes.
The race. So my goodness. First things first. I'm British, and
whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy. I don't know how to feel about this information.
Sorry, I should have told you sooner. No, this is like the one race of the year, maybe Japan as well, where we really appreciate the hard work of those in the Australia kind of time zones, like Asia Pacific kind of region. You guys are absolute legends. I love the dedication.
Not Asia Pacific as such, but more Far East than that, I guess. And NA people as well. A lot of NA people. They also have not the easiest time.
Like
especially if you follow the feeder series like F3, F2, like that's
there's no chance.
F3 is a war crime.
I know Dan just cannot with the feeders.
Obscene. It's obscene. Yeah. It's crazy. Like I mean, sometimes F3 is too much for us. Like.
And that's like 7 a.m.
When I say us, I mean like when I'm with you in the UK, obviously.
Yeah, it's like 7 a.m.
Right now in India, as it turns out, pretty much everything is kind of perfect.
That's great.
The only things which are at a hard time are at like other North American ones. So like Sao Paulo, okay, that's not North American, but it's in the EST time zone, you know what I mean? Mexico City and I guess all of like Miami, Las Vegas, those ones. Kota, yeah. So those ones start like quite late at night. So they start at like 1:30 or something like that. But
Oh,
like I
yeah.
don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind staying up
You're
till
a
1:30.
night owl.
Waking up at 4 is another deal altogether. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I do not envy you guys for for having to go through what we just did
Yeah.
today. No, but you know what's
say
crazy
we.
though? On the topic of yeah, I mean, on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
topic of insane time zones for Europe F1 viewers, like I legitimately cannot remember what happened in Suzuka. Like I other than broadly like, oh yeah, it was a wet race max on the championship. Like
No,
I don't remember it
I
because I was
remember
so
it.
like I was so faded from waking up that early and then falling back asleep for the red flag and then waking up again. Like it was insane. Like I have no idea what happened in that race.
No, I seem to remember waking up at 6 a.m. again and Alex DNF'd on lap 1. So I was not. That's
No,
all
you know
I
what's crazy?
remember.
If you ask me where did Alex finish or did he not finish, I have no idea. Like I would not know that. Yeah, I remember Gasly had incidents with the like a track vehicle, like a recovery vehicle. Sorry, Sainz crashed immediately. Like straight up aquaplaned off.
Yeah. Me and my mum, the Sainz and
Vettel and Alonso
Albon
crashed side by side, and Perez Perez got pushed off by Charles Leclerc.
I've got to say, that was not a good morning in the Last Lap Lucy household at 6 a.m. We both woke up and both our favourite drivers were out on lap 1. Anyway, but that didn't happen.
It was quite all right. It was honestly quite all right in the New Jersey racing household. I was there watching with my housemate and friend and BUKC teammate Sam. And yeah, I mean, it definitely helped having someone there to be able to wake up. Because if it was just me, there's no chance.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I would have lost any and all motivation after the red flag. I would have gone back to sleep, woken up like 9 hours later. Like there's no way.
But yeah, so speaking of lap 1 DNFs, we did see a Ferrari go off, but this time it was Leclerc.
We did. That is an interesting talking point, actually. Yeah.
Yes. So that I guess moves us to our first talking point. What do you make of the Leclerc incident?
I don't know why he does this so often. Like, specifically to Lance as well. Him and Lance, lap 1, him just turning in like Lance doesn't exist. It's happened several times now. Like, I find it kind of impressive. You know what I mean? Like, how does this keep happening? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. He just kind of threw the game. Didn't need to do that at all.
Mean, you know where I'm going with this, but on Twitter, there will have been some.
Of course.
Yes. Of course. I don't mean to finish
the thing is,
sentence.
if I know there was discourse from looking at Instagram comments, I know Twitter must have been just another level.
Yeah. No, so basically just people saying it's Stroll's fault just because I think people, when they see an incident or a crash of some sort, they have a tendency to just blame the driver that isn't in the gravel.
They don't like.
If that makes sense.
Also the one that they don't like.
Yeah, and that. Like, whenever Stroll's involved, it's immediately his fault.
Both of those aspects compounded into this being Stroll needs to be jailed forever type situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
realistically, it felt like Stroll was just the innocent victim. He just kind of happened to be the car that was there.
Exactly. For me, like the overall, my official verdict is like, it's one of those things that just happens on lap 1. But if you had to assign blame, it would be like 70-30 Charles' fault. Because technically, Lance could have been more to the right, but he had absolutely no obligation or need to do so.
Yeah.
And Charles had the obligation to leave him space.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it is what it is. I just genuinely don't know why Charles did that, though. I mean, he's not made that kind of a, like, that's like it's a goofy mistake. You know what I mean? Like,
and he's not silly or goofy.
He's
a little bit stupid. He
hasn't been doing that kind of thing in the last, like, 2 years, I feel. Like, he hasn't done that kind of, like, just, I mean, the thing is, all of the self-made mistakes he's had have been like he's on the ragged edge pushing to try and like overcome a bad strategy and like crash and pull the card, that kind of thing. Like, it's goofy in the context of the championship fight, but it's kind of an understandable mistake to make. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you're pushing that hard on your end lap on extremely worn hard tires, you just get onto the dust and go off. That's fine. This is like, there was no need for that. Like, I don't know why did
he's
you
not even in the championship fight right now. It's
like,
clear Red Bull are the main contenders. Maybe it was just some frustration, I guess. Like, he just really wanted to make up some positions.
Yeah, I don't know.
Out-qualified by his teammate, he probably wanted to just establish himself in the standings.
Yeah, very true. Very, very true. I mean, luckily for him, I'm sure he wouldn't tell the media that that's a good thing, but very luckily for him, Carlos also did not end up scoring any points in the end.
No, Sainz was going to get, 15 points, is it, for third? If not for that.
What? Yeah, but he was on for fourth, wasn't he?
Fourth, yeah. But then Alonso was out.
Alonso got reinstated.
Yeah. So, but if Alonso hadn't been reinstated...
Then, yeah. But, I mean, there's no world in which Alonso hadn't been reinstated, but he also didn't get a penalty.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
True.
I feel like
true.
the only argument against Carlos Sainz getting that penalty was that Alonso had his position reinstated, so that there was no general loss.
Yeah.
So that's basically what do you think about that? Like, was it too much? Like, what do you feel?
It's a tricky one. I'm pretty biased. As I mentioned earlier, my mum loves Carlos Sainz. So I spent the whole morning sat next to someone going, Carlos. And honestly, I'm here for it. I love the passion. But at the same time, it's like, there's no neutrality with her when it comes to Carlos. Like, Carlos is, you know the Gordon Ramsay meme where it's like, oh dear, gorgeous. Like, Carlos is the gorgeous. He can do no wrong. And so basically, as soon as that happens, they got in Carlos's way, you know, so, which, fair enough, have your favorites. It's fine. Yeah, exactly. She was like, how dare
Michael Massey was there at the track. To be fair, he was present.
This has been
his influence is widespread. You can always hear his voice in like the corner of your ear.
I would
it's the corner of your eye, but
looking at it as someone who's not quite as experienced as you are in terms of discussing racing incidents and such, I would say yes, it was Carlos's fault. I would also say it was a somewhat harsh penalty. Like, I can see why they gave it.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah,
to be honest.
It was like a turn one kind of moment. Like,
I feel like it was definitely an incredibly harsh penalty, given that Alonso wasn't like impacted net by that. But also like he did cause a collision, so that much is like pretty clear. So
and the thing is,
I think it's extremely harsh, but like fair. Whatever.
Yeah, I think something that people are forgetting as well. Yes, Alonso was fine, but like the repercussions further back in the grid from that moment with Sainz and Alonso, like it caused people to kind of be swerving.
But then
and
that's also debatable, because then you're getting into so far into the what if territory that it's kind of arbitrary. You're just making stuff up at that point. You know what I mean? Because it's like technically. Because Esteban went off on his own. He just locked up on his own, right? Yeah. So when he rejoined, what was going to happen? Who knows? Oh, not Esteban, sorry, Pierre. When he rejoined, what was going to happen? Who knows? If Alonso went off, this thing happened. If Alonso didn't go off, maybe something else even bigger would have happened. We don't actually know. Because that's dependent on a million other things. And Logan Sargent locked up on his own, right? That was completely independent of what Sainz did.
God bless America.
Some level. Yeah, I can't make that joke on the podcast. Never mind.
Don't do that.
Run that one back. I'm not gonna be making that joke on the podcast, guys.
Okay.
That's for the paid subscription only, guys. OnlyFans exclusive joke. But I wasn't honestly expecting a full-on lockup just like on his own. But my point is that regardless of whether Carlos crashed into Alonso or not, there definitely would have been some level of carnage either way. So I don't. It's definitely not entirely on him. But it's a harsh but fair.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of Carlos's penalty, apparently he appealed it. Now, I haven't been following this. Have you been following this? Do you know if anything's happened yet as of Sunday?
As far as Sunday 1904 IST. I am not aware that anything has happened. I heard he was going to fight it and whatnot, but like I don't think anything has come of that.
Okay.
Because even in his own post, he was like, I don't agree with it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of understand. Like, I mean, there was no operational like violation in terms of the rules applied to his situation, right? So I mean, I don't really see how they can. It wasn't an incorrectly applied penalty. He just doesn't agree with the fact that there should be a penalty. But at that point, it's like open to interpretation, right? So that's why there are 6 stewards talking to each other to come to a consensus on what should be done.
So regarding the penalty, actually, because no rules were broken in the assigning of the penalty. Like, it was all by the book.
It was all by the book, yeah.
However, they were saying on the commentary, I think it was the commentary, or no, Carlos actually was saying on his radio that they should have applied the penalty after the race, and that was brutal. But they should have applied. Carlos was saying that they should have waited till after the race so that he could go to the stewards, they could hear from him, and then they could make a decision on the penalty. Why did they not do that?
I mean, it's pretty unanimous in the like F1 people. Like, I don't want to say community, because obviously our opinions aren't as important as, like, for example, the GPDA talking to like the Grand Prix Drivers Association and the team owners and the stakeholders of F1 and all that. It's pretty much a general consensus among everyone that you want to be giving out the penalties within the race. Like, it's incredibly lackluster and disappointing of a feeling to have a race result changed like 2 hours after the race, because that's how long he'll be arguing in the stewards room for. that kind of thing. So
right.
I completely understand the decision, and I appreciate the fact that they got a decision done quickly. But I mean, he could have appealed it. If it were to be appealed, it would have by now. So whether they did it now or later, it's not particularly material in my mind. But I feel for him for sure. I would understand if I was in his place. I would pretty much be asking the same thing.
That makes sense. So you'd say the main reason they just applied it then and there was just so that for the fan experience, racing
for the clarity of everyone involved.
Yeah.
That like when the order that is given out on the original first classification list is the highest probability of being the actual real finishing order that they've settled on.
That makes sense.
Which is fair enough, yeah.
So my next question following on from that, having announced the penalty, do you think that led to a potentially dangerous situation where drivers who were on the formation lap, safety car, final lap thing, whatever they did, the LastLapLucy lap, no, I'm kidding.
LastLapLucy
it's a LastLapLucy reference.
Oh my God,
on the last lap,
I love LastLapLucy references.
They did this like formation lap, and the cars behind Sainz knew there was this 5-second penalty. Do you think that by announcing this to the drivers, it potentially caused them to like come a little closer than they perhaps should have?
No, because they were only separated by like 5 seconds, the whole field. Like first to last was only like 6-7 seconds tops, right? So either way, he was like that's why he was literally like crying in the car, like because he knew that was literally GG. It was literally it was the equivalent of getting a black flag, like, which is just, that's insanely harsh, but like it is technically the minimum penalty you can give to someone. So it's just mega unlucky for Carlos.
Yeah, basically. And like in the situation that he was in, it just he had no chance, no way to fight back.
There's nothing he could do to compensate for that.
Yeah, it's like sometimes in Formula 2, I feel like it happens a lot. You see drivers that have been hit with like a 5-10 second penalty and they're fine. And then there's like a late race safety car, like in the last 2 laps, and they pulled the gap, and then the safety car comes out and they're like, no!
No, but to be honest, I don't mind. I mean, the way they're doing it right now, which is prioritizing literally just doing it properly, it doesn't matter what it looks like, what it feels like. If you get messed up by a decision, that's racing, man. I prefer that. Like, I know that's what Michael Massey tried to claim was what was happening in Abu Dhabi 2021, but I mean, clearly, given the fact that he's not the race director anymore, that wasn't the case. So, I mean, this current way of doing things where it's like how badly, like, I think Perez, Sainz, Russell, and a couple of others got really ruined by Albon's crash causing the red flag. They got completely, their life was ruined because of that. It is what it is, I mean, it's not like a this has been manipulated, man. They weren't like specifically trying to stop Russell from winning the race. It just happens. It's okay, they managed to get a really good strategy decision for pitting on the safety car, and then got really unlucky conversely by having there be a red flag on the same lap. That kind of thing.
I was like, no, surely not. Like
some days you'll be really lucky, and some days you just won't. And I mean, even George said that. No, when it's not your day, it's not your day.
It's not your day. Like, that was a Will Buxton-esque quote, and I love it.
Real.
Do you think for future rule book rules, you mentioned that these guys pitted under safety car that later turned into a red flag. Do you think that the rules should be amended so that the safety car pitters, it's almost like they go back to where they were when the safety car came out?
I don't think that should be done. I'm pretty okay with it as it is, because it's like they made the decision to take that gamble. It wasn't a safety car that turned into a red flag. It was a safety car. They finished the safety car, and then Alex crashed, which caused a red flag because he ripped the barrier, right? So it's like the
what was the safety car
it's just
for?
I can't remember actually.
Because I thought it was a safety car, and then they red flagged it, like they escalated it. I
don't think it was an escalation.
Can you check?
We can yeah, I can check. It was not escalation. It was literally they did the safety car for Charles being beached in the gravel. They had to take the car out, and when they and during that safety car, people pitted for hards, some of them.
Right.
And when that finished, on the subsequent laps, Alex went into the wall. So.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of a moot point then. Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's talk about Alex. You actually mentioned earlier on about Leclerc. I guess the idea of a driver making a mistake when they're kind of pushing to the ragged edge. Would you say
Yes.
that's what happened to Albon?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, basically, I watched the whole onboard, and yeah, basically, I mean, I obviously don't know because it's like, he was especially like he was technically going slower than he did on the previous lap, so it's a matter of like how did the tires react to the safety car heat cycle, and then the red flag hadn't happened yet, but like the safety car, the warm up procedure being in the hot air of the car in front. I'm not gonna say dirty air anymore because it's not exactly the same, but like the exhaust pipe of the car in front is still spitting out a bunch of hot air, and your car wants a lot of cool air to run properly. So there is all of that. So, but he also doesn't know that, so he can drive around it. So I don't know. If I had to guess, he's pushing up, and this time slightly over the limit.
Yeah, I mean, it was really impressive to see him up in P6 in a Williams like that. That doesn't feel like where it's where the Williams should be.
It was honestly, it was crazy. Yeah, especially through turn 6 as well. Like I watched him in qualifying, as I said. Like I had his onboard open the entire time. Like he was so insanely good through turn 6. Like every time he started a lap, I was like, okay, yeah, this turn 1, 2 is kind of made. Yeah, 3 is pretty good. Whoa, 5 is pretty good. Oh my god! And then when the 6 came, you know what I mean? Like the Williams just like hooked up like crazy through there.
Is 6 the one where he crashed? Or...
Yeah, that's what. So it's like it's tragic because I guess he was the most confident in that corner, and he flew just a little bit too close to the sun this time. I guess
he girl bossed too close to the sun.
He girl bossed way too close to the sun.
It's okay. We still love you, Alex.
Yeah, it'd be like that at times.
It do.
I mean, he still was. Wait, is he classified ahead of Sargent? No, Sargent was classified as a finisher, but 6 laps down or something like that, or 2 laps down. No, because he did on the red flag or the restart.
Oh, I honestly, that was like the weekend that could have been for Alex, especially with all the chaos that unfolded. Like there was definite potential to.
Really unfortunate. Like I was so like I was genuinely so sad for him. Like obviously now, because I mean I'm a bit more sad for Carlos, but I was so sad for Alex on that happened. I was like, oh no, not him. Like that's really not what I wanted
Anyone
to see. Like,
but him.
Anyone but him. Like he was the one he was my chosen one for the weekend.
Hasn't he been through enough?
Hasn't, yeah, for real. Like it's okay. I mean, but the trouble is he's not going to be able to. He's going to have to cope on his own. He can't find a therapist now because all of them are busy. They all have consecutive appointments at Charlotte. I mean, it's just never going to happen. So you know, I mean,
oh no.
Ferrari fans for real on Suicide Watch after today.
Honestly,
oh my god. I mean, they already were, but like they are as well.
Ferrari fans watching this video or listening to this, whichever platform you might be on, I'm sorry. I'm
Escape
here for
while
you.
You still can. It's not too late. You can still get out of there.
It's gonna be okay, guys.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, guys. I mean, no, it isn't. Not if you stay with Ferrari, but like if you don't stay with Ferrari, it might be okay.
It might be okay. Well, this is your official petition to join the Alex Albon fans.
That's so true.
The Albon Nation.
Hey, in reality, all of these F1 drivers, they're all like, they have every whims and fancy catered to. They have the custom molded helmet. They have like catering that breaches the budget cap. Like they've got everything. You know what I mean? You should be a Neil Basser racing stand instead. You use a motorcycle helmet to race in 4-wheelers because that's all I can afford. Like that's the real. You should sponsor me, guys. You should actually donate to let me race, guys. That's what you heard
this from the man
You should
himself.
forfeit all mortal possessions to Neil Bassi Racing, guys.
Yes,
actually.
You're so right. Me on my way to forfeit all my mortal possessions.
So true.
Here's my phone for you.
Oh, lovely. I will sell that phone.
You will sell that phone.
I have exciting... not exciting news. I guess you already knew, but I can share it on the podcast, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
One thing I'm currently working towards, and by working towards, I don't mean getting the opportunity. I already have that. I mean getting the funds together. So I guess like talking to as many potential sponsors as possible and kind of even family and friends, honestly, being like, hey, could you pitch in a tiny amount? Like, I'm really looking to try and do this. And it is an Indian F4 test day, or test program even, of 2 days.
That's so cool.
I can definitely, I definitely think I can do one this year, like in terms of financially. And yeah, I mean, as it turns out, the price I was quoted to do it is even cheaper than what the like a normal driver would do, because the team owner wants me to drive for them.
That's nice.
But with the way motorsport works is, even if he wants me, all he can do, the best he can do, is give me a slight discount. Like he's still the car isn't gonna fuel itself and like drive itself for free. You know what I mean? Like the money does need to come from somewhere. So I hope that money can come from.
So how much do you have to raise? If you
I have to
sharing?
raise like 1,000 quid basically.
That's honestly not too bad. Like,
Yeah, but I mean,
considering
it's still out of reach for
motorsport,
me as
yeah.
one. Yeah,
Like, that's
for me as
huge.
one individual, it's too much. But like, if I can,
And is that just for
like,
one day?
it's for 2 days, and you
2
get like
days?
some 150 laps, so it's
Oh,
quite a lot
lovely.
of mileage
Yeah.
for what you're paying. So it's
Yeah,
good value,
honestly.
but it's still a bit too out of reach for me as one individual to pay. So
Yeah.
if I could, I mean, I'm gonna have to be talking to as many people as possible, even if like everyone contributes like what, 5 quid or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure I could get way closer to the goal.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be sending out many WhatsApp
Support
messages
Neil,
to
guys,
friends and
please.
family. Yeah, support me so
He
true, guys.
wants
I
this so
definitely have that
badly.
infrastructure in place. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, where were we?
We were talking about Alex Albon in the race.
Ah, yes. Yeah, I think we've pretty much covered that now.
Yeah, we have.
Who else had shady moments?
Shady moments in the race.
Okay, actually, I want to ask. We saw on the chaotic final restart, Stroll just goes off into the gravel. Why?
Yes, I don't know. He's done this as well before. Stroll don't throw the podium on a safety car restart on the last lap challenge. Impossible. Failed several times. Like, do you remember Monza? Okay, no, technically in Monza he did get the podium, but he could have won that race. Like,
I do remember that.
He went flying off at chicane.
Straight on.
For no reason. Why did bro do that? You didn't need to do that.
Oh
like,
no.
Oh my God. It's okay though. It's okay though. I mean, in like even the commentators were talking about like it didn't look natural. That was a super unnatural lockup because it wasn't even like it wasn't stopping even after he went off. Like it just kept going. It stopped when he hit like a puddle of mud at the edge of the gravel.
Yeah, I thought someone had like hit him from behind when I first saw it. I was like, oh my goodness, because it's like
it's crazy. Like he just had nothing. He had nothing. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the brakes just weren't in the window, but that's surprising because they did have a formation lap, so you can warm up the brakes pretty easily on the formation lap. So yeah, I don't know.
His brakes were actually they were ones that were smoking the most on the grid.
Oh, were they?
Yes, I don't know if you saw that.
I didn't see. No, I didn't see.
What does smoking brakes mean? Like what?
Smoking brakes means it's too hot, right? So these are carbon brakes. In fact, the exact material name is carbon because it's carbon fiber reinforced to the carbon lattice. So it is officially carbon brakes. And those brakes obviously they have an operating temperature. So, but for carbon brakes, that operating temperature is comparatively very narrow compared to the kind of steel brakes you'd have in a natural, as if they grow on trees. A normal road car. So a normal road car would work. Brakes would work anywhere from like -10 all the way to like 300-ish degrees Celsius. Whereas F1 like carbon brakes, they kind of only wake up and start working at like 400-ish, and they fade meaning like when it gets so hot that you can notice it not braking properly as much. That only happens at like some like 1100 1200 degrees. So I like that's why I was speculating that it may have been too cold, because if it's under 400 you're not stopping. Like that's just gonna go straight on. But if it's so high, it's technically possible for it to oxidize and to convert into carbon dioxide, which is the smoke you see coming off it. Which then obviously you kind of don't want that. If your brakes are literally evaporating, that's kind of not what you want.
I'd get out.
That could have been happening, but to be honest, that's kind of hard to do unless there was something like stuck in the brake duct. But given that he could drive the rest of that lap back to the pits seemingly without problem, and they didn't mention anything afterwards, like if they were plucking something out of his brake ducts,
we'd have heard.
We'd probably have heard something about it, yeah, because I mean, he's a racing driver. I mean, that's what racing drivers. Oh my god, I was about to say we. Oh my god, I made it, guys. That's what we love to do. You know, we that's our main skill. People think, oh, it's driving. People who are more wise to the racing world think, oh, it's entrepreneurial skills to get sponsorship. In reality, it's making excuses. That is something you have to be like extremely proficient at. If you don't have a bunch of excuses ready, you failed. So he if that was an opportunity, if you no longer see an excuse, if you no longer go for an excuse that exists, you're no longer a racing driver, as the late great Ayrton Senna once said. And that, if it were the case, he would have gone for the excuse, and he didn't. So I don't know.
So speaking of excuses, we have another 10 out of 10 segue. Max Verstappen. I don't really know where excuses come in here. I don't think he had an excuse really.
What was the segue?
He was pretty honest. Okay, Max's little trip through the grass.
Oh he locked up that one time, yeah.
I think he was very honest about what happened there, which was like something with the brakes was going on.
Yeah, I mean, he has been having like deceleration problems since like Bahrain, literally. And like I think he knew at that point that it's like, why flat spot the tires? Let me just jump off the brakes and drive across the grass. I have a 25-second lead. It's fine. Like, it's crazy when the crowd can go like, oh my God. And it'll cut to Max Verstappen with like really dirty tires. And then you see the leaderboard and it's like, Max Verstappen, P1, plus 8.0 seconds. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, no. Like, okay, man has gone off. The crowd has screamed and he's still 8 seconds ahead. Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
He's just,
So
he
I think
does this.
he knew there was no need. Like, Max actually in this race, to be honest, his racecraft was like almost Lewis-like. You know what I mean? Like the kind of style he was using this race was really reminiscent of what Lewis was like back in, like, say, 2020, and even the first half of 2021, where it's like he's absolutely not taking a single risk more than he needs. Like, he even talked about it explicitly on the post-race interview when he got out of the car. On lap 1, he kind of just let both Mercedes through because he knew that they had
He'd
a
get
lot
them
more to
back.
gain than
Yeah.
he has to lose.
Yeah.
So he would lose so much and they would lose nothing if they crashed. So he didn't want to take that risk and he just backed out because he knew he can get it later. And that is kind of, I feel, a sign of Max like getting to that like
champion
goat tier. Like,
mentality.
he's
Yeah.
champion mentality, goat tier mentality, where it's like he knows exactly, like he was kind of hot-headed before in terms of like he wants P1 and he wants it right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when in reality that may not be the best way
But
to
now he's starting
go
to
about
play
the
like
entire race. And now
3D
he like
chess.
he's playing 9D chess,
9D chess.
with all of the possibilities, and that's very interesting to see.
Yes.
Like, it's interesting that you can just like observe that by watching.
So my mum has just WhatsApped me. And as I mentioned twice now, she's a Carlos fan. She feels really bad for him still. And she's just said apparently Will Buxton says that Carlos was in floods of tears. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think I mean, I don't know if that's speculation, but it sounds about right because you could clearly hear in his radio he was like actually on the verge of tears. And then when he noticed the camera was on him, he immediately closed his visor. So I think that's a fairly reasonable assessment. Like, I would have to agree with him. Agree with her with Will, I guess.
With Will.
On that.
My goodness,
claim.
my
it was
heart.
really bad.
Oh my goodness. So
it was,
I guess from a racing driver's perspective, when you've had like a kind of crushing blow like that, how easy is it to, I guess, step back into gear for the next one? Like, how do you not feel downhearted? Because he didn't really do a lot wrong that race. Like,
exactly,
he drove his
and
heart out.
Not only that, there was like, in hindsight, very, very little, if anything, he could have done to prevent that outcome. It just happened that way. So those ones are kind of better, like, mentally speaking, because you can kind of bounce back from that easily, saying, yeah, okay, if I just roll the dice again, maybe it won't land on that number.
So it might be harder for someone like Leclerc, say, who arguably made a mistake.
Even with Leclerc, he has definitely that kind of like mentality where he's super aggressive in wheel-to-wheel racing. So he's had contacts like this before and bounced back from it just fine. In fact, Leclerc is incredibly mentally strong, just generally. That's definitely been one of his strengths throughout his whole career. So he'll be fine, no doubt.
That's really interesting because like we always see him like beating himself up, like.
Yeah, I mean, it's a coping mechanism, I guess. I don't know, but like generally, the way he deals with adversity, in like, it's like it doesn't affect him. Like, I mean, he'll be like upset about it, and then he'll put in the most monster performance you've ever seen, like that kind of thing.
Would you say it almost fuels him? Do you think?
Yeah,
like
I mean, I don't know. I literally can't even comprehend how he operates at that level. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of crazy. But for Carlos, I would say, like, in terms of like despair of like, okay, this was really bad, I'm really upset about this. I think the root cause of that feeling of like just like absolute crushed feeling that he's like caused him to literally cry in the car. First of all, the fact that something he thought wasn't fair, because Alonso is like, look, he's in the pit lane, Alonso is in front of me, and yet you've given me a penalty that drops me to last of the still standing cars.
Yeah,
that feels insanely unfair. It feels like the whole world is coming down on you, and it also feels like there's literally nothing you can do about it. They took that decision without talking to him about it,
and there was nothing he could do.
Yeah, there was nothing he could do. So that feels really insanely crushing in the moment. But in hindsight, I think it'll be fine, like by next race.
Yeah.
But to contrast, for example, Daniel Ricciardo from like 2022, he race on race was just having such a horrific time that he would get into that negative mental spiral. Or even like Valtteri Bottas from Mercedes. In Mercedes, he would get into that negative mental spiral where it's like, I am not doing good enough. Like, obviously, there are like a million different circumstances that all contribute to that one thing in the end. But at the end of the day, my teammate beat me by 3/10, like a lap, right? Yeah. So that's a deeply upsetting feeling, because that makes you almost like question like
everything.
am I a fraud? Like, was I even like what have I been doing in the first
They
place?
put
Like,
themselves on fraud watch.
yeah, literally. Yeah, you put literally. I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I don't know how much of this I'm projecting like imposter syndrome type situation, and how much it's like truly the case. Like, I definitely know many racing drivers who have gone
Because
through this.
I feel like we've seen similar with Gasly, Albon, and even
Yeah,
Kvyat at Red
definitely,
Bull.
definitely. No, but Gasly, I would debate that, because Gasly was the one of the people. I mean, at least from the way he talked about it, he was always absolutely like fervently denying the allegations of being a fraud. Like he was like, no, it's just this specific circumstance. No, I swear, like
Do
I'm
you
there,
agree?
I'm there. Yeah, I mean, clearly he like won a race on AlphaTauri the next year, so
that was such
yeah,
a story,
I mean,
honestly.
yeah, I mean the thing is that, well, obviously everyone deals with your own mental struggles differently, right? And it's only been a relatively recent thing that the stigma around mental health was reduced to the extent that like athletes in a men's sport, like a proper black sport, can like be open about that kind of thing, right? So the a lot of them will have their own coping mechanisms, but an equally large number of them will have it. Obviously, you can't not have one, but they'll be completely unconscious of it, and they won't know how to like manually control their coping and think about it in that kind of way and stuff like that. So it's definitely a skill. But as I said, with the stigma being reduced nowadays, a lot of drivers are like consciously leveraging that by working with a sports psychologist actively and that kind of thing. So
I
yeah,
love that they call it a
varies.
sports psychologist and not just
Yeah, no,
therapist.
I mean, it's not just therapy that they do. Like it's a lot of being like hype inducers. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a driver coach, except they're not telling you about driving style, they're talking about like thinking style.
Wait, it's literally me.
Which is
I am your sports therapist
so
or whatever
true.
it
That
is.
is so
sports
true.
psychologist.
That's so true.
I'm always here like, go Neil, you're so good.
But
you can
yeah,
do
I mean,
this.
yeah, so it is an incredibly like useful thing to have. Like it's crazy underrated in the scheme of
was
things.
Was it
like
Grosjean that first talked about that?
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was. He was
and
supposed to like
obviously
openly
Norris
talk about
as well recently has talked quite a bit.
But I think quite a lot of them do like openly use a sports psychologist these days, just from the team.
Well.
Like, yeah, but yeah, definitely.
We love the drivers that speak openly about it. Like,
you truly do love
you guys,
to see it.
Amazing. Let's talk about Magnussen.
Yes. He had an interesting day, didn't he?
He did. We just kind of saw him come around the corner with 3 tires. I've already seen the memes about it. Like, you know, in Cars, that one scene where it's like, oh no, the Queen's pulling a tire.
Yeah.
It was just like that. Like, he had 3 wheels, and I was like, "Oh, it's a puncture." I said it so confidently to my mom. I turned.
Yeah,
I
mean,
like,
it's a reasonable assumption. I think everyone thought it was until we saw the replay. To be fair,
until we saw, well, we got the close up of the wheel, and there was just no wheel left, and I was like, "Oh, no tire, no tire,
like,
sorry."
None of it left at all. Yeah.
Where's that gone?
Where is that? Yeah. Interesting.
I want to bring up a safety thing, just because it was something that made me a little stressed on the inside when I watched the replay. If the flying tire had hit Zhou, would it have caused a problem, or would he have been
probably not? Especially with the halo, probably not. I mean, it would have left a huge black mark, but given that the Alfa Romeo was mostly carbon fiber black anyway, it probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that rubber, when it's heated up, it like, I have unfortunately found this out the hard way. Hot racing tires, they leave huge black stains on anything they touch, which is fine when it's tarmac, because that's also black. But if you touch it to see how hot the tires are, your hand will be black. And it's hard to wash that when you're at a racetrack.
Yeah.
So don't do that, guys. That's a tip. That's a Neil Basu racing tip and trick, guys. Neil Basu informing. Neil Basu teaching.
This is it. You can't get this type of content anywhere else.
You heard it here first.
Don't touch the hot tire.
Leave a huge black mark on. I mean, it can be fun sometimes, and I understand the curiosity. I've been there. Just like a couple of months ago, I found out the hard way that is not something you want. But yeah, would have left a huge black mark, but probably not, because the main reason that's generally a safety concern, like the flying wheels and stuff, is from the mass of the wheel, like the metal part of the wheel. Just the rubber part of the tire, it's way less heavy. So even when it's going at a high speed, it'll do way less damage. So given that that's the halo is there, it'll just deflect it away and he'll be fine.
Nice, good. Because I always get scared with the whole tire flying thing. Because I think it was Spa 2020.
Yes,
There
it
was that
was.
whole thing of like the tire
Giovinazzi's tire
nearly,
came
yeah,
flying off, and it took Russell's front right out as
yeah.
well, along with it.
So I'm always like, I always get a bit nervous when I see flying tires. So I'm glad to have that reassurance that we didn't see like a near miss or anything.
Yeah, I mean,
so
at
really-
worst, if he got super unlucky with it, it could break his front wing. But I mean, that would have been great content, you know. So it's fine. It's not a safety issue, is what I mean.
Yeah. So what did cause Magnussen to have that crash? Do you think? Like, did he?
Oh, he hit the wall.
Yeah, but why? Was he just overcooking?
Oh, why
it
did
a
he hit the
bit?
wall? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he just overcooked it a bit because it's like what, like literally, like the lightest graze onto the wall. Like, in
Yeah.
fact, like usually you can get away with that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like even I would urge everyone to think back to Sebastian Vettel's pole lap in the 2017 Singapore Grand Prix. He had a hit like that on the wall, and you could even see like an explosion from the metal getting shaved off and superheated at that specific point on his pole lap, and he still got pole. And the ultra soft
Wow.
tires stayed together, like that kind of thing. So yeah, tires usually can handle it, but when you're using hard tires that are like some 50 million laps old, there's not enough meat left on the bones to hold
Yeah.
it together, right? So the lightest tap and it like immediately delaminated like that.
Yeah.
So it just fell off.
That makes
So
sense.
very unlucky, very, very, very unlucky for such a
Very,
small
very,
hit to
very
have the tire
unlucky.
just fall apart like that.
It wasn't really Haas's day, was it?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of worked out okay for Nico
yeah.
in the end, but yeah, he
Yeah.
could have had a lot more
It could have
had
been,
circumstances played out differently. I mean, he could have even had a podium technically.
Yeah.
if
That
things had
was
gone
an
differently.
interesting thought.
Yeah.
Because like there is an alternate universe out there where
There is.
the race was, I guess, restarted as the order they came into the pits.
Yeah, without
Sainz
Alonso
was
being
given the
reinstated.
penalty. Yeah, without
Yeah.
Alonso being reinstated. Sainz was given the penalty. Hulkenberg's in third. And just knowing Hulkenberg, let's just, because this is our alternate universe, right?
Yes, of course. We have creative liberty here. We can be Michael Massey.
His failure happens like just a little bit earlier, like a minute earlier, because he failed on his like in lap, right?
Yes, he did.
Hulkenberg, like one corner from his first podium, and he like grinds to a halt. And that would be like
God,
such a Hulkenberg thing. That's the thing, like
yeah,
this is what
that
I'm
would
saying,
be the
like,
most certified classic Hulkenberg moment of all time, for sure.
that's
easily.
yeah. That could have happened in some alternate
could have easily
universe.
happened.
It has
Yeah.
happened. Like
Yeah.
that is a scenario we could have seen today.
Oh my god.
And can you
That's
imagine
tragic.
the
That's
agony?
tragic. I would like, oh my god.
Oh.
Like, oh my lord.
Forget the Ferrari fans. Nico
Yeah,
Hulkenberg.
that doesn't. I don't even care at that point. Like,
Check on your Nico friends.
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
oh my
no.
goodness. Yeah. Whew. Okay. So I got that one into my head as soon as I saw him break down. I was like, wow, imagine if he got podium and that was a lap earlier. Like
that's crazy.
Yeah. Which honestly, let's say they had been 2 extra laps of the race. Like the whole race was 2 laps longer. That literally could have happened.
It could have. It for sure could have. Like easily.
Anyway.
So
something else I do want to mention. Wait, do you have something?
No.
Okay.
I think we're probably talking about the same thing, to be fair.
The track storming, was that what you were going to bring up?
Oh, no, that is not what I was going to bring up. I actually don't know what that is. So go ahead and enlighten us.
Do you remember last year when Albon came in to change his tyres? Like the mandatory pit stop he had to do on like the last lap, and there was like a crowd of people in the pit lane, like kind of near the podium area.
Don't recall the.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
well, there
recall that
was,
part,
and they were scarily close to his car as
Right.
he was coming out the pits. I think they just kind of assumed the pit lane was like done with. If that makes sense, it very much gave the vibe that they were not being very safe.
Yeah.
Similar vibes this year, except that people are apparently going towards the track. Like some people had got onto the track. It was after the checkered flag, but before they were allowed to do it, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
Interesting.
I saw a post saying the official rule given out to the fans at the Grand Prix. There was this like the safety car of some sort with green flashing lights. They could only enter the track once that car had passed them, and people were entering before that car had passed them. So the actual Australian Grand Prix organisers were summoned to the stewards to talk about it. That is all I know. So.
5-second penalty for the Grand Prix itself. Like, oh my god, that's crazy. Albert Park Circuit gets a 5-second penalty. We've never had this one before, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting one because, like, I saw the FIA document, you know, and it's like summoned to the stewards, and it was like the organisers of the Australian Grand Prix, and it was like, oh, okay, someone's in trouble.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Yeah, what do you make of that?
That is quite interesting. I don't know. I actually have no idea. Were the cars like near them?
Not
Like the
that I'm
F1 cars?
assuming if the cars were near them, I'd have seen photos of that because people
Yeah.
always sensationalize
And I mean,
these
it
things.
also like is a throwback to that one, I want to say 92 British Grand Prix with Mansell winning the race, and then on his in-lap, like he was like having to beg people to move out of the way so they don't get ran over. Like,
Yeah.
literally, I think he ended up getting like pushed the entire way back by the fans because you can't drive an F1 car that slow. Like it's physically not possible.
Yeah, I'm glad everyone was okay. I'm glad nothing bad happened, but I do believe they would be cracking down on that next year because that's just not acceptable, really. We've seen people try and storm tracks. We've seen the British Grand Prix. It's not going to end well. Cars and F1 people. I mean, F1 cars and people.
Cars and F1 people. Oh my god.
People and
it's
F1
like a normal
cars.
It's like a normal person, but instead of arms, they have wings for downforce.
Yeah, I mean, cars and humans don't mix, unfortunately, in terms of when there's one coming towards you, especially an F1 car. So yeah, that is a very, very important thing for them to look into and not let it happen again, because we don't want that. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just going to bring up the thing that I saw there was some discourse about after the race.
Yes.
Which was that Max seems to have overshot his grid spot. Which is interesting, but he wasn't technically counted as overshooting his grid spot, which I found interesting because then they had to do, or people had to do rule clarifications on what actually the rule is.
Yes,
in my head, what the rule was, originally was the white line of the grid box. Every bit of your car needs to be behind that.
Yes.
And the yellow line was used as a reference to say, okay, if my front wheels are here, the wing will be just at the tip of the white line. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, I thought it was that as well.
I've seen a rule clarification, I guess, which says that the wheels need to be within the box, which he did. So, which is why he didn't get a penalty.
On or behind the line, if that makes sense. So yeah, I actually looked into the rules myself and made some informative videos. I actually posted a YouTube short on my channel and a TikTok about this.
Be sure to watch that one, guys. At LastLapLucy.
LastLapLucy, check it out. Yeah, so basically the rule is, as you mentioned, it's the actual part of the tire that touches the ground. If that's touching the line, it's like track limits. It's like if you're on or inside the white line.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Then it's fine, because I guess they have to judge it somewhere, right? And it makes sense to have it be the bit that touches.
That does make sense. That absolutely does make sense. I think the general knowledge was that like you have to keep every bit of the car behind the line, and the yellow line was used as a reference for the drivers because the distance between the yellow line and the tip of the white line is one front nose's worth.
Yes, so I do want to mention as well,
because in the F1 car, you're sitting so far down that you can't actually see where your front wing is. So you can kind of crane your neck and see where the front wheel is. So that's how they would ideally like to line it up.
Yeah. It's a really interesting one because I was under the same impression, but then actually when looking at the rules, I was like, oh, that's not what the rules say. So it's an interesting one. I suspect we might see more people trying to push it forward a little more.
Yeah, for sure. Of course. Like if they know that's what the limit is, of course. Yeah. That's what they do.
But then I think, could we see more people getting grid penalties? That's another thing. Like Max clearly wasn't over the line.
I think they're definitely going to bring it up in the drivers briefing. So I don't suspect like there'll be actual issues regarding it, but they'll handle that themselves basically.
Yeah. So I guess that's everything race wise. Unless there's something we've missed, I don't think so. There was. Yeah. Okay. Shall we move on to our awards?
We can get into the award ceremony. Yes, let's go. I love the awards.
Driver of the day. So it did go to Checo by the fans.
Did it?
Yes.
Oh, that's so annoying, man. I literally remember like texting the boys group chat earlier in the morning being like, I swear if it goes to Checo, like, there's no way.
That's the thing, like, this is a Checo thing. He's like racking up driver of the day just from something going wrong in quali and then just doing overtakes.
Yeah.
And everyone being like, oh my god. Who would you give driver of the day?
Who would you say? Oh my god.
You go first. I
would have to. I don't know. It's really tough. It's really tough. Honestly, I think if I had to pick one off the top of my head, I might go with Hamilton. Honestly, because keeping Alonso behind is not an easy task.
Yeah.
Especially not in a Mercedes, which is like at best an equal car to the Aston. You know what I mean? So
yeah. No, I agree.
The fact that he managed to get it done even after his teammate got taken out of the picture, by power unit issues. It was pretty impressive, honestly, and the fact that they managed to make the strategy work, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good performance from Hamilton.
Yeah, honestly, good Good job.
Who do you think?
I'm struggling as well, to be honest. It's a really
Because
tricky
I mean,
one.
Max would be like logically because he won so dominantly, but then he also made a few mistakes.
Yeah,
so
that's the thing. Like,
who knows?
in terms of what you were saying earlier about him driving very much like Lewis with not taking risks he doesn't need to, I would lean towards saying Max. However, he did have that little moment where he kind of went through the grass, and while he was very dominant, a lot of that was just because he had the car to do that in.
Exactly.
And I feel like he didn't do
if you were in the midfield, that would have been a huge issue for the race.
Yes.
So I don't think we can give a driver of the day to someone who made that mistake in the middle, you know what I mean?
I'm also considering Sainz. I know Sainz did get involved in that moment.
That is reasonable.
He was screwed over by that red flag at the start.
Yeah, he did do, like, he was just kind of solid the whole race. He did exactly what he needed to do the entire time. He was pretty much in the right place at the right time. At the highest the Ferrari.
I know who I'm gonna say. And I don't know. He was a little bit of a mini bozo towards the end.
I would like to quote the great LastLapLucy. Oh, I know what I'm gonna say. I don't know. Which is it? Do you know?
No, I know, but like Pierre Gasly, right?
What were you thinking?
Pierre Gasly. He's driving his adorable pink Alpine.
I see where you're coming from. Yeah,
like,
I see where you're coming from.
I love the pink car. Not because it's pink. I just like that it's pink. Like, it's not because I'm a girl. The commentators were like, girls like pink. They literally said that on the broadcast.
Were you watching the Sky commentary?
Yeah. I was like, excuse me?
I have had the privilege of not having to watch that.
They literally said girls like pink. They literally said that. They were like, the Alpine's last race being pink. And you know girls like pink. And I was like...
Unfathomably common David Craftel.
I forget which one it was that said it. One of them said
To be fair, that's a very Christian Hunter thing to say. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So I was listening to that, like...
Not the best take ever. But to be fair, Sky F1 is kind of... Literally, that's kind of what they're known for.
Yeah, anyway.
At least they're entertaining.
So yeah,
I definitely see where you're coming from.
Gasly did have a very solid race.
Yeah, until he took out his teammate, unfortunately.
And kind of ruined both of Alpine's days. Anyway, I know, he was so good.
Yeah, but to be fair, the reason I don't think I can give it to him because of how much of a bozo moment it was. I don't think it was his fault. Like, it's just one of those things. Because there's so much going on, like, in his, like, front left quarter, that looking to the rear right quarter in your mirror, like, there's no... One human can only do so much, you know what I mean? So it's like... But the fact that it was his teammate, just the way the stars aligned, that it was Ocon in a pink car with Otmar Safnauer as the team boss, like, it just doesn't get much better than that, does it? So I don't know.
It is.
Like, I feel like Otmar would have been getting like PTSD flashbacks. Like, oh, not this again. I thought we left that back in 2018.
Oh no. Yeah. So I think I'm gonna settle on Carlos Sainz. I think he was very solid.
That's reasonable.
I wouldn't even necessarily call it a mistake from him. I think he just was in the wrong place at the wrong time and kind of just ended up being in a situation where he just ended up hitting Alonso, who also would be a serious
it's
contender.
Undoubtedly his fault, but like, it's just one of those things that happen.
Yeah,
sometimes, you know what I mean?
He just happened to be the guy that had to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't, like, the driver in front checked up a bit too much and he couldn't anticipate in time and he just ran into him. It happens in racing quite often. Yeah.
So other than that, I think his mini bozo move was kind of nullified by him being screwed over by the red flag before. And also the fact that he got that massive penalty, 5 seconds only, but
I mean,
there's such a
percentage
him.
Of the gaps wise, percentage of gaps wise, it was like death penalty in F1.
Yeah.
Like.
So it's like, you know what, it's almost like the pity award, but Carlos Sainz, you're my driver of the day today. So
that's reasonable. That's fair enough.
Shall we move on to best move?
Let's move on to best move.
And I would like to go first for this one, actually.
Please do, because I've forgotten. I remember the move, but I've forgotten who did it.
Okay, so that was this really nice move, and it leads on nicely from my driver of the day pick. I'm actually going to say Carlos Sainz on Lance Stroll. He went, I think it was up the inside towards that turn where Stroll went straight on, I think. I forget which one that is.
Turn 5? I do know the move you're talking about.
He kind of just lunged up the inside, timed it to perfection, and just got in front. It was just such a clean move. I loved seeing it, so... Yeah, that's a very good move, definitely. I think the one I liked the most was Oscar Piastri on, I think, Nico Hülkenberg. Ooh. I have no memory.
Or
of
was
this.
it Piastri or Norris? Anyway, there was one McLaren, and it was editing whoever it is. You can insert an audio clip of who it was. But yeah, it was one McLaren on, I think, Hulkenberg, and it was like a 2-lap long battle where he was really trying to set up a move, but the McLaren is so slow in a straight line that he can't, even with the obscenely overpowered DRS, like he couldn't do anything.
Right.
So eventually he had to just like stick right under Hulk's rear wing, and then on the exit of turn 11, on the end, like side by side through turn 12, like and like that kind of move is like, I feel like that's really rare, like, and it required some creative thinking to get that one done, and yeah, I really enjoyed
I think is that the one where it's like almost like a Z shape, almost like a
no, it's not that one.
Okay.
That one did not require creativity because it was demonstrated by Checo in his rocket ship. And so everyone in the vicinity in that DRS chain was like, "Oh, yo, we could do that." So yeah, that move did happen, but that's not my candidate for overtake of the day. My candidate is a completely different one where there weren't any other overtakes, and I don't think there like ever have been, because why? How? Like, it doesn't make any sense. So yeah, I mean, I really like that one.
Okay, best battle. Do you want to take this one?
Sure. I don't actually. I mean, I guess it would have to be that one, because I don't really remember there being many like long battles.
It doesn't have to be an on-track battle necessarily, let's say that.
Okay, Carlos Sainz and the stewards. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, you're gonna say Carlos Sainz and the stewards, and I'm gonna say the FIA and their own rule book. They came out on top. They did come out on top. They were absolutely wrangling with it.
They were. That is reasonable.
You could tell the panic, like you could feel it coming out of the stewards' room. Like you feel like the waves of panic.
You can just see the one sweat drop.
Yeah. So okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Similar vibes then. Okay. Flop of the week.
And I think I think an equally iconic duel, which has been a duel for the ages. Really, it's been going on. It's a very long rivalry. And I would have to say it's Kevin Magnussen and his rear tire staying attached to the car in Melbourne. I think generally it's been a really tough battle. It's really been weighing on him and Haas. So unfortunately, he did not come on top.
I've seen this one before, occasion, and I didn't like how it
ended. That's tragic. Yeah, that's very, very tragic for him, unfortunately.
Oh no. Yeah, fair enough. But overall, you're saying Carlos versus the stewards, right?
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
just for my records.
Everyone versus the safety car, because they apparently were going way too slowly. I mean, I don't know. Everyone versus the sun, because by the time we got to 2 hours and 50 minutes after the formation lap started, like the sun angle was like horizontal. Like, it's very, very, very hard to see. Oh my goodness,
I would not have been able to see a thing.
Yeah, no, you definitely would.
Yeah.
Like,
is it time now?
I swear, like that level of visibility, the only like respite, because when you're in that situation, right, the majority of your lack of visibility comes from the black tarmac reflecting the sun directly into your eyes like a mirror. So like, the only people who would have been safe from that are like Logan Sargent. And that didn't really do him much help, did it? So, I mean, Logan Sargent, because there's so many cars in front of him blocking the tarmac. So the tarmac itself won't be like... Yeah. But like, imagine what like Lance, I think could have been playing a factor, because he didn't really have anyone. Like, he had pretty clear skies in front of him when he was braking for turn 3. And he just went straight on.
That's very interesting.
That kind of thing. And turn 3 is where the sun was. I mean, turn 1 and 3, that direction, basically. So yeah, I mean, it really affects you like a lot.
So who is the flop of the week, in your opinion?
There've been quite a few, haven't there?
I have mine.
Go ahead.
I don't want to say it, but I kind of feel like it's the right one.
Go on.
I'm going to say Charles Leclerc. He was out-qualified by Carlos in qualifying, and then he just kind of...
I mean, I would hope he gets out-qualified in qualifying. Imagine if he gets out-qualified during the race. That would be crazy.
Carlos out-qualified him, and then he messed up on lap 1 and ruined
that definitely was a bit of a bozo performance from him. A bit of an error performance.
It's not been his weekend, really. He will definitely come back stronger, but for my flop of the week, it's Leclerc. Sorry.
Yeah. I think... pretty solid candidate is Logan Sargent, to be honest, because while his teammate was admittedly bottling the race, he bottled it from P6. Where was Bro during that time? where was he? No one knows. No one really knows about the whereabouts of Logan Sargent.
No.
I do, because I went back and checked. He was actually last. No, actually, Bottas got pushed to last after the pit stops, but he was like very, 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 very far back compared to Alex. Like
he
he got
gets some slack
owned by
being a
Alex this
rookie.
weekend
I
in terms
do
of
think that
performance.
was his
Of course,
first time.
100%,
Yeah.
100%.
But
He gets
still.
a lot of slack for being a rookie, but still,
Yeah.
it wasn't a good performance. Like,
Yeah, no.
it definitely wasn't.
Good choice. I think we've both had some good flop choices there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we were good at selecting flops, so we're very good at that.
Yeah, okay.
We are on Flop Watch. Oh my god,
Yeah,
Flopper Racing
we
Team.
are
That's us.
the
We
flops.
know flops. We
You're
know
so
flops.
right. Flopper Racing Team shout
People
out.
talk
Hi,
about on
Raver.
Twitter about knowing wheel. We know flop.
The Raver shout out. Hi, Raver.
Oh my god, hi Raver. No,
Okay.
but we know flop. Some people know wheel, but we know flop.
We do know flop. Okay. Hidden gem. My favorite category.
Do you have one?
I'm gonna go first. So my hidden gem is gonna be Max Verstappen wearing that wig.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the point of hidden gem.
Did he do
See, you forgot about it. I have no idea why he did that, but I'm here for it. Like it was like the mullet, right? Like he had, he was rocking it, and honestly,
no, but I don't know. He can never match VB.
He would never match
VB. First of all, his name is VB. Real Aussies will know. VB is a cultural icon. VB long neck, the alcoholic drink. It's a cultural icon of Australia. He is called VB already. Like he's already Australian before he even knew about the country's existence. Right? But the thing is, he does know about the country's existence and basically is living as an Australian. He has an authentic mullet. It's a part of his head. It's coming out of his head as compared to Max, who just put it on afterwards. Honestly, Max is such a poser compared to Valtteri. He's the real Australian. Honestly, the two Australian posers of this weekend have been Max Verstappen, obviously, because he wore the mullet. And Oscar Piastri, who is only Australian to the extent where he has it on his passport. VB is the native Australian. He's lived there his entire life. He speaks Aussie. He throws a shrimp on the barbie. Like all of the above. You know what I mean? Like
yeah. I would like to extend the list of fake Australians. Yes. Yuki Tsunoda's kangaroo impression. Going over that like
I do not know.
If you know, you know. If you know, you know. So
I do not. I am unfortunately.
There was like this media fence, and Yuki just like.
He jumped over.
He went like like a kangaroo. So
true. That's reasonable.
There we go. Yeah. So what's your hidden gem?
My hidden gem would be during one of the red flag periods when the whole like an incredibly well coordinated like hundreds of people Mexican wave. Like
that was so good. They were all like, woo! They were so good.
It was really, really good.
No one is doing it like the Aussies or the Mexicans.
No one does it as well. It should be an Australian wave, actually. I don't know why Mexico got caught up in all this, but Australia deserves the credit. And to be honest, I know why it is. Because Australians are incredibly adept at banning alcohol from events, but sneaking it in anyway. They are so good at it. So surely, given that it'd been like 3 hours since the race start was scheduled, all of their like drunkenness will have reached its peak by that point, right? So they are all in the exact right party spirit. So spirits, anyway, but as an example, I don't have any evidence that this happened at the F1 Grand Prix, but as an example, the Bathurst 12 hours or 24 hours, one of the two. The Bathurst is a street circuit, Mount Panorama. So you can just go there. Like you can just go to the town of Bathurst anytime you like.
Yeah.
So they knew that beer was banned. So what they did was they bought their VB long neck bottles and they buried it in the ground next to the track, so that later when they got in past the like bag checks and all that, they can dig it up and drink it. Like that is true Australian ingenuity. I mean, you just can't beat that.
Oh
it's
my
truly
goodness.
9 million IQ.
I love that. That's crazy.
So you can like you were absolutely on the money in saying they don't do it like the Australians. There's no one who does it like the Australians.
They really don't.
So yeah,
I can just we're talking about Australians now. I'm imagining like another red flag comes out and everyone's like, no, you know, they do be Australian.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah.
No, I would love to be there, to be honest. It seems like such a great vibe.
It seems like absolute scenes. My friend is actually like in Melbourne, like he lives in Melbourne now because he goes to uni in Melbourne.
Cool.
Uni of Melbourne, I think. Yeah. He goes to uni in Melbourne, but he has gotten so into football over the last year that he felt like he would be too much of a poser to attend the Grand Prix. But we were joking that now that we know that Michael Massey is at the track, now he has an incentive to go. He can go and kidnap Michael Massey.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it didn't end up happening.
I have an honorable mention actually for Hidden Gem. Yes. There's this one clip, I saw it on TikTok, of Leclerc using like a public toilet at the track. Like security just let him through this fence and he like dashes into the toilet in his race suit on, and there's like I'm sure in the clip yeah. So and then like I'm so sure there was a guy like he was stood with his like back to us. And so he had the pose going, you know, when you use the urinal. I'm so sure that was caught in the video.
He did the urinal pose in the suit in a public toilet. Like
not Leclerc,
not Ferrari.
Leclerc just walked in, but there was a guy in the background doing
that.
But
the thing is, right?
at the urinal.
Let me shed some light for the audience. Let me shed some light for our lovely listeners.
Yes.
Race suits are basically a long sleeve shirt and trousers combined, like stitched together, right? And the thing is, you cannot pee out of a race suit without taking your entire t-shirt part of it off.
Yes.
Which means it's dangling, which usually is fine. But in a public toilet, I'm not letting my sleeves drag on the damn floor. That is nasty. There's no chance in hell I'm letting that happen, right? That's crazy. Oh my God. Like,
Shout out to, I think it was Nicole when we went karting. Me and Nicole were using the toilet.
What, in the
took turns,
I remember,
And I was like, how do you use the toilet in this? Because like I was wearing the race suit, and I was like, how do you do it?
But she wouldn't know either because she doesn't.
No, exactly. Both of us were like, what do we do?
Yeah, and I was just sitting there waiting, like, guys, they started the driver's briefing like 10 minutes ago, and I'm waiting here to show you the directions to where it is. Oh my God, guys, this is like.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'll try and send you the link to that.
I helped a proper bloke get into a race suit for the first time while that all happened. So that was good fun.
That's so nice.
I felt really like needed. You know what I mean? Like I felt like, oh my God, I'm able to give like racing driver insight because I know how to put a race suit on efficiently. Like I can explain it to him.
Yeah. So yeah, Charles using the public bathroom on TikTok, apparently, allegedly. Obviously, I wasn't there, but that's what the clip seems to be showing.
Street say, paddock talk.
Yeah. So that's my honourable mention for Hidden Gem because we cannot let that one get forgotten to the sands of time.
Definitely not.
So there we go. Do you have anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I think we can start doing the outro now, to be honest.
Cool. First things first, if you enjoyed this video, I guess this is last things last though. If you enjoyed this video, LastLapLucy reference.
Oh my God, last but least. I would say last but not least, but obviously it is least because everything else we've said so far has been more important. So last but least.
Last and
least, if you will. Yeah.
Last and least. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button.
Click the like button and subscribe button if you watch on YouTube. For our Spotify listeners, leave 5 stars and leave a question in the Q&A section of the Spotify interface.
We love questions.
We love questions and we love 5-star ratings even more, guys. Thank you so much for listening if you enjoyed. And do remember, no matter what platform you're on, smash that notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of the Cooldown Room podcast with LastLapLucy and co-hosts.
Exactly. That was so much better. You're going to replace me as the main co-host. I mean, the main host. Like
look at me. I am LastLapLucy now.
I'm Neil now. Wait, does this mean I get to be the racing driver?
Sure. I mean, yeah.
I'm gonna wear the suit. No, I should not be a racing driver. I should not be.
I mean, the suit is custom fit to my body. I don't think it would go. I mean, I'm down to try when I come back, but I don't think it wouldn't work well on your body. Definitely, like your hands wouldn't reach to the ends of the sleeves. I think.
Isn't even like the rib protector's a little
The rib protector is still okay because
it's okay actually. Yeah.
It
was my boobs. That was it.
Yeah, we were discussing that. They make women versions of the rib protectors. Rib protector, to those who don't know and who are, this is an Easter egg for the YouTube viewers. Post outro blooper. This is not going to be in the Spotify version, so you guys should feel special for this because obviously it would not help at all for audio listeners.
Okay.
But that right there is a rib protector. As the name suggests, it wraps around your ribs because in karting it's kind of brutal. So protecting your ribs from vibrations and impacts, it kind of helps, especially with longer race weekends.
Well, there we go.
So, but for women, they make like a special women version where it's instead of being a square edge like that, it has an L-shaped edge to leave like a boob like cut out.
Yay!
Which is great, women's rights and whatnot. But as it turns out, most women just use the normal one because I think I think a lot mostly people just buy secondhand. So there are more men's versions out of them because of it being a more male-dominated sport. So,
women
can wear the non-boob cutout version, the boobless version. Women can wear the
boob. They can.
So and given that you and I are the same thickness, it's probably fine.
We are the same. I don't know if thick is quite a word that should be used when describing us. We're the same thinness, I think.
I will not stand for the slander. I'm thick as well. I'm dummy thick.
The neck thicker than the body. Anyway.
Oh my God, tree trunk up in it, But anyway.
Absolute tree trunk. Cool.
This has been a great Easter egg for
this
you
has
YouTube
been a
viewers.
great Easter egg for me.
Smash the subscribe button if you are still listening and watching.
You're a real one. You are a real one.
So real. You're the realest one out there, actually.
I'm gonna make eye
because
contact.
all of the other ones, they're not real compared to you because you're here. You're still here. The others aren't.
Yeah.
So I mean, who's last but most, actually?
Last but most.
Not even last but not least. Last but most. You're the most real.
Last but
because
most.
You were here last. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.